16-year-old Emily lived and breathed astrology. Her birth chart was practically memorized. Every crush was meticulously analyzed for compatibility. A bad date? Mercury must be in retrograde. Emily was convinced the stars held all the answers, especially when it came to love. Her relationships, however, were anything but written in the stars. They were passionate, volatile, and short-lived. Each heartbreak felt like the end of the world.
It's not me, it's him. He's just not emotionally evolved enough for a Leo like me.
She clung to the belief that her astrological sign absolved her from any responsibility in the demise of her relationships. It was always someone else's fault, never hers. This pattern of blame became a defining characteristic of Emily's approach to life, not just love. Schoolwork piling up? The teacher was clearly out to get her. Fight with her mum? Her mum just didn't understand her. Emily excelled at deflecting responsibility. It was easier to point fingers than to look inward. This outward focus kept her stuck in a cycle of drama and disappointment. Emily felt like the perpetual victim in her own life. She was blind to the role she played in her own unhappiness. Her friends, though supportive, began to notice the pattern. They recognized the signs of her self-sabotage. They saw her push away anyone who dared to challenge her perspective. Emily's inability to take responsibility for her actions created a rift between her and those who cared about her most. The summer she turned 18, Emily's life began to unravel. A particularly messy breakup left her reeling. She leaned heavily on her friends for support, but her constant negativity and blame-shifting became exhausting. One by one, her friends began to distance themselves. They gently tried to point out her role in her own unhappiness, but Emily refused to listen.
Emily, you need to see that you play a part in this too.
She felt abandoned and misunderstood. The one constant in her life, her friendships, seemed to be slipping away. It was a painful realization, one she could no longer ignore. The stars, it seemed, were not aligning in her favor. For the first time, Emily felt truly alone. The weight of her own choices pressed down on her. With the start of a new school year looming, Emily found herself at a crossroads. She could continue down the same path, blaming the universe for her misfortunes, or she could choose a different direction. The thought terrified her, yet a flicker of hope ignited within her. Maybe, just maybe, there was more to life than zodiac signs and self-pity. She decided to take a break from dating. The constant drama of her love life was draining. It was time to focus on herself, to understand why she was so quick to blame others. This decision marked a turning point for Emily. It was the first step on a journey of self-discovery, a journey that would lead her to confront her own insecurities and embrace the power of personal responsibility. Encouraged by a trusted teacher, Emily began seeing a therapist.
Therapy was initially uncomfortable. I felt exposed, vulnerable.
But with each session, she began to peel back the layers of her own defenses.
Emily, can you see how your childhood experiences, particularly your parents' tumultuous relationship, have shaped your views on love and responsibility?
The astrological charts that once defined her world began to fade into the background. In their place, a new understanding emerged.
I learned about the power of mindfulness, the importance of sitting with my emotions instead of running from them.
She started journaling, pouring her thoughts and feelings onto paper.
Slowly but surely, I began to take ownership of my narrative. Section 6. The Power of Presence. Journaling became my sanctuary. It was a space where I could be honest with myself, where I could explore my thoughts and feelings without judgment. Through my writing, I began to recognize my own patterns of behavior. I saw how my need for control often pushed people away. I realized that my fear of vulnerability kept me stuck in superficial relationships. Mindfulness exercises taught me to be present in the moment. I learned to observe my thoughts without getting swept away by them. This newfound awareness allowed me to break free from the cycle of overthinking and self-doubt that had plagued me for so long. I began to understand that happiness wasn't something that happened to me. It was something I had the power to cultivate within myself.
Section 7. Owning her narrative. The more Emily learned about herself, the more compassion she developed for herself.
I realized that my mistakes didn't define me. They were opportunities for growth and learning. This newfound self-compassion allowed me to forgive myself for past mistakes and approach my relationships with a fresh perspective.
She reached out to the friends she had pushed away, offering heartfelt apologies and a willingness to change.
To my surprise, they welcomed me back with open arms. They had missed me, and they saw the genuine effort I was making to grow.
Emily's relationships, both romantic and platonic, began to reflect her newfound emotional maturity. Section 8. A Love Built to Last. It was at a local bookstore, surrounded by stacks of her favorite novels, that Emily met someone new.
Our connection was different from the whirlwind romances of my past. It was built on shared interests, mutual respect, and a deep understanding of each other's vulnerabilities. For the first time, I wasn't looking to the stars for answers. I trusted my own judgment, my own intuition.
This relationship wasn't about escaping into a fantasy world of astrological compatibility. It was about two people choosing to show up for each other, flaws and all.
I had finally found a love that felt as real and as grounding as the earth beneath my feet.
Section 9. The Stars Within. Years later, Emily still glanced at her horoscope from time to time, but it no longer held the same power over her.
I had learned that the most important journey wasn't written in the stars, but within myself. The stars, I realized, weren't out there to be deciphered. They were within me all along, guiding me towards my own potential for growth, resilience, and love.
Emily's story is a testament to the transformative power of self-awareness and personal responsibility. It's a reminder that true happiness comes from within, from embracing our imperfections and striving to become the best versions of ourselves. It's a journey that requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to let go of blame and embrace the unknown. And it's a journey that ultimately leads us home to ourselves.